Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd. If you are just tuning in, we have a lot to get to. Lots of stuff going on last night. Some incredible basketball games as both the Pistons and the Clippers even up their respective series at one game apiece. Kawhi Leonard and Cade Cunningham having incredible nights of their own. We also had a lot of incredible action from hockey. 2 overtime games, one 4-goal comeback that wasn't, and a tight one in Winnipeg. We'll go over all of that, as well as the games for tonight. We have NHL action, NBA action, and we'll talk a little bit about the transfer portal, what's going on over there, as the first trade of sorts has gone down in college football history. But before we get into any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, April 22nd. But like I was saying, we are going to start off our show here with the showing between the Clippers and the Nuggets. That game was cinema. We saw Kawhi Leonard go for 39 points, 93% true shooting. You know how crazy it is to shoot 93% in true shooting? He missed 4 shots all game. He only missed 1 shot from inside the three-point line. Kawhi Leonard, we call him a robot, we call him an alien, we call him all sorts of things. He was on another one tonight. This has spurred a whole lot of different conversations. Kawhi Leonard, of course, kind of disappeared off the face of the earth after leading the Toronto Raptors to their first and only NBA championship title over the Golden State Warriors. That's his second Finals MVP. He won one for being a LeBron stopper when the Spurs won back in the early 2010s. This was another level. We have seen Kawhi Leonard be this kind of player in the past, but he's struggled with injuries. Of course, he's fully back. And if he plays like this, he didn't have his greatest game on game 1. They still only lost by 2. They win by 2 in this one. If he plays like this for the rest of the series, it's going to be nearly impossible for the Nuggets to win this, for the Nuggets to advance. Nikola Jokic didn't have his greatest game. He still finished with a triple-double in this one, but it wasn't his most effective game at all. He kind of struggled a little bit, was a little bit out of sorts when you take a look at some of the decisions he was making down the stretch. There was a weird turnaround shot that he made late in the took late in the fourth quarter. I thought it maybe was an alley-oop attempt that he left short. And then with the ball in his hands at the last second, down by 2, he goes for a weird little turnaround. I think he had, when he was fully covered there, I think he had some flashbacks to game 1 when he passed it off to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook then let the time just drain out. Did not get a shot up. He at least puts a shot up. It's short. Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers tie this series up. This is going to be a battle. We saw this one get incredibly chippy down the stretch. There was a point where Norman Powell was picked up by Jamal Murray in the middle of a basketball game. Dual technicals over there. Nothing really seemed to come of that, but these two teams were going at it. There were a lot of flops there by Nikola Jokic in this game. I just don't think he had his best game. He's trying his best. He kind of is being a one-man army, despite what Jamal Murray's been able to do. Hit a couple of tough shots. Michael Porter Jr. cleaning up on the offensive glass. He was huge down there, keeping them in it. The Clippers had a couple runs where it looked like they were going to pull away early in that fourth quarter, late in that third quarter. But the Nuggets, of course, were able to stay in it. They were able to make this a game all the way to the end. Turnovers were the story of that game. It was the story of the first game. It was the story of the second game. The Clippers didn't really take advantage of the turnovers that the Nuggets were giving them. They still got outscored in points off of turnovers, but the Nuggets turned the ball over nearly 10 more times than the Clippers did tonight, which is the exact opposite of what happened in Game 1. That's something to keep an eye on. Whoever is turning the ball over less seems to win the game, which is not a super crazy correlation to make. Of course, when you make less mistakes, it's going to be easier for your team to win. But that is something to take a look at. Make sure that we do understand these teams are incredibly close. They both finished with 50 wins on the season. It's the 4-5 matchup. These two teams were decided by tiebreaker in the season series 3-1 to the Nuggets, although there were 3 games at home for the Nuggets. So maybe that has a little bit to do with it. This series is going to be incredible to watch down the stretch. It's tied at 1, heading back to LA, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way. This series is going to continue to be more physical and chippy because these two teams are as tightly matched as they are. I think there's a real chance out there that if the Clippers keep playing like this, they could have potential title hopes. And I know maybe I'm insane for this, but they entered the postseason incredibly hot. 18-3 in their last 21 games of the regular season. They entered this postseason on a heater like just about nobody else. They're still incredibly healthy. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best playoff risers we have ever seen in this sport, and he's healthy right now. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think this Clippers team has a chance to go really far. But right now, they need to find a way past the Nuggets. But that wasn't the only incredible performance from last night. We saw Cade Cunningham and his Pistons break the longest playoff losing streak in NBA history. They had not won a playoff game since 2008, the first Obama administration. That has been a very long time since the Pistons won a playoff game. Cade Cunningham drops 33 points in a 100-94 victory over the New York Knicks. They even this series in the Garden. Cade Cunningham shows up when he needed to. He was kind of shut down in that first game, and he was a little bit of an afterthought, especially early on, but he turned it around. In this game, he was nearly unstoppable. There was nothing they could do. 33 points, again, really efficient. That's one thing we're talking about. He wasn't the highest scorer in this game. Jalen Brunson dropped 37 points in this one, but he was not efficient. He was foul baiting. He did get Asar Thompson taken out of the game with his 6 fouls. He fouled out of the game. But this wasn't the greatest Jalen Brunson game. We also saw him kind of take over. And it's not the worst thing in the world for Jalen Brunson to take over, but you have Cat on the team now. You have help. And Cat only had 3 shots in the entire second half. He didn't score a point in the entire second half. Something needs to change. There needs to be adjustments. What they did in the first game really well is they moved the ball around. Again, there were 4 players in game 1 with 20-plus points on that Knicks squad. They need to be a little bit more balanced, and Jalen Brunson can still take the brunt of the offensive load. There's no doubt about it. Jalen Brunson is an incredibly talented basketball player. He's someone that you can and have relied upon in the past to lead you to a second-round series, nearly lead you to the Eastern Conference Finals. But we also saw the drawbacks of it, right? We've seen this team now that's pretty healthy still continue to play like the team last year that was completely ravaged by injuries. They need to adjust to what they have on their roster, who they have healthy, and I think they're going to have to make that adjustment quickly because the Pistons came out of that game. They came out with so much momentum. This is a young Pistons team. This is a Pistons team heading back to Detroit that stole home court advantage away from the Knicks. And if they're able to take 2 at home, which the momentum they have right now with a young team, it's all about momentum. They have all of it. The Knicks need to come out strong in Game 3 if they want any chance at all to win this series. It's not necessarily a must-win, but they at least need to give a counter blow. There were some real big counter punches from the Pistons in this one. A Dennis Schroeder 3 down the stretch to basically put it away. Some bad shot selection by Jalen Brunson down the stretch. A missed open 3 by Mikal Bridges that would have tied the game, but still, down the stretch there, the Pistons just operated better than the Knicks did. And this is still going to be a really tight, really tough series for both of these teams. We saw how physical it was. Obviously, there were players that fouled out in a playoff series, not something that generally happens as the refs kind of swallow their whistle a little bit more than in the regular season. This is going to be a very physical, very tough series mentally and physically again for both of these squads, and I don't think they're going to advance too far out of here because it's just going to be so much wear and tear on their body when they eventually advance to take on most likely the Celtics, although Jason Tatum now doubtful for game 2, after he suffered a little bit of a bone bruise on his shooting hand on a tough fall against the Magic. That's something to watch out for because the Magic have the ability to keep it close in this one. Just got to be careful there. They would play the winner of the Pistons and the Knicks. Both of these two series that were played last night are going to be the two best series, I think, on either side of the bracket. These two teams are incredibly tough, incredibly close to each other in the standings, and these two teams are putting everything they have on the line to advance as far as they can. Young teams with a lot to play for, teams with players, star players that have a lot to prove on both sides of the bracket here. I can't wait to see how it goes down the stretch, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of the Kawhi Leonard Clippers game? What did you think of the Clippers tying it up in yet another tight, chippy game? What did you think of the Pistons and their young guys stepping up, tying that series in a hostile environment in the Garden? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the NHL. What a wild night in the NHL it was last night. We had 2 overtime games. Alex Ovechkin, 2 goals and an assist, including his first ever playoff overtime game winner. He went off. He had a huge game. We saw a near incredible comeback, down 4 goals to tie it up before heartbreak and much more last night in hockey. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going over all of the NBA action from last night that saw 2 incredible games to tie the series at 1 for both the Pistons and the Clippers. In this segment, we turn our attention over to hockey. On the ice, it was an incredibly intense atmosphere for all 4 games. We'll go over all of them. 3 incredible endings, 1 real tight game. We'll talk about that and much more. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those 2 things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, April 22nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get into everything that happened on the ice, and I did say it was a wild night. We'll start off a little tame. A 2-1 intense game where we saw Kyle Connor yet again be the hero for the Jets. The Jets extend their series lead to 2-0. We saw Kyle Connor get the game-winning goal in Game 1 of that series as the Jets made a fervent comeback effort down 2 goals to the Blues in the third period. This time, we saw a locked-in Connor Hellebuck. We also saw a really good Jordan Binnington game, but Connor, once again, the hero in that one, gets his second goal of the series, his second game-winning goal of the series, as the Jets escape from the Blues 2-1 to sweep the first two games at home. They head over to St. Louis now with a 2-0 lead on that series. The Blues looking to avoid getting swept. They've kept it really competitive against a really solid Jets squad, but you have to wonder, losing all that momentum in the third period of game one, are they going to be able to turn it around? Momentum, a real big thing in the sport of hockey. We saw the Jets take it in the third period. And speaking of momentum, we saw the Capitals lose it, get it back in overtime against the Montreal Canadiens. The number one seed in the East, Washington Capitals, opened up their playoff series against the Montreal Canadiens at home in Washington last night. We saw Alex Ovechkin open the scoring. Of course he did. 1-0 early on, or late in that first period. Alexander Beauvillier got on the scoreboard to make it 2-0 heading into the third period, where the Caps just ran out of steam. They really played 50 minutes of dominant hockey in this one. We saw the Montreal Canadiens not have an answer, not really be able to get any shots on goal until Cole Caulfield and his line got a whole lot of action. We saw a goal on Logan Thompson on the power play, another scramble after Logan Thompson lost the puck, got out of position. We saw a patient Caulfield find his spot, Nick Suzuki in there as well. These guys did amazing to send this game to overtime, where Alex Ovechkin had never, ever scored a goal. He'd had 45 opportunities in his career, after this year becoming the all-time leading scorer in NHL history, passing the great one, Wayne Gretzky. The Capitals, a team that kind of desperately needed this. Both the Canadiens and the Capitals came into the playoffs struggling. They had both only won 2 of their last 5 contests. They really needed a win. They got back goaltender Logan Thompson in this one, the Caps did, and they helped him to a win. Alex Ovechkin finishes with 3 points in this one, including his first ever overtime playoff goal. Game winner for the Capitals in Game 1 after they had lost all the momentum. A tough penalty on the offensive zone for the Capitals led them from a 2-0 lead all the way to overtime, where it felt like the Canadiens were just going to get whatever they wanted. A face-off to the side of the netminder for the Canadiens, sent in the middle of the net. Again, kind of a chaotic moment where the puck just kind of found its way to Alex Ovechkin's waiting stick. He pockets it top right corner of the goal, right in front of the goaltender's face, celebrates. The Capitals up 1-0 on the Montreal Canadiens in this one. This series is going to be really physical. The Capitals and the Canadiens are both fast, physical teams. Both of these teams are kind of young. I know the Capitals are headlined by some older guys in Alexander Ovechkin at 39 and Tom Wilson at 31, but this is a team that really its core, outside of Ovi, is a bunch of young guys. You have Alexei Protas, who's going to come back, and he's going to be an excellent piece for the Washington Capitals down the stretch. We saw Connor McMichael score over 25 goals this season. He's incredibly young. We saw a lot of really young guys, including Ryan Leonard, who was straight out of college, played in the college hockey Frozen Four, or the March Madness of college hockey, and then immediately got called up to the Capitals, playing in the playoffs now alongside Alexander Ovechkin. This is going to be a very physical series. It's exactly what we expect out of these two teams, the Capitals and the Canadiens. It's going to be a bruising effort, as all of these games really are. But that was our first overtime game. There were just 4 games played last night, but half of them went into overtime. The other one, the Dallas Stars, after losing Game 1, the 8th straight series where they lost Game 1, advance in Game 2, heading back to Colorado with a 4-3 victory over the Avalanche in overtime. This was an incredibly long overtime. Alex Ovechkin scored his goal pretty early into the overtime period. It took a very long time for the Stars and the Avs to figure this one out. We saw excellent goaltending by Mackenzie Blackwood of the Avalanche and Jake Ottinger of the Dallas Stars. These two goaltenders did a great job keeping this game alive, keeping this game going, as you have to do when you get to overtime, especially against some of these really talented shooters. And it was an unsung hero, not someone you would expect to score that game-winning goal, someone that was picked up on making less than $1 million right now on that roster. Scores the goal with just about 2 minutes left in the overtime period, 18 minutes of extra hockey. These two teams love to go at each other. These games are going to be long. We saw a double overtime game between these two last season that was ended way deep into the second overtime. I expect it to be very similar this year. We'll have to see exactly how it goes, but the Dallas Stars even the series at 1. What a game that was. But two overtime game winners did not hold a candle to the best game of the night. The Kings and the Oilers clashed for the fourth straight year. The Oilers had won this series 3 years in a row. This is game 1 of the new series, and the Kings were out for revenge. They jumped out to a 4-0 lead in this one. Eventually, the lead was 5-1. A 4-goal comeback by the Edmonton Oilers. 2 goals in 36 seconds. They were able to cut the lead down to 5-3 with about 10 minutes to go in the third period. Then they killed off a 5-3 penalty after a failed challenge sent a second player to the box, a double delay of game penalty for the Oilers. They are able to stop a flurry of shots from the Kings, keep the score at 5-3, where then they immediately pull their goalie. 3 minutes, just about 5 minutes to go in the game. The goalie gets pulled, down by 2. Nothing really happening in the beginning parts of it. The Kings missed the open net a couple times, but the Oilers get a goal. Not just one, but 2 goals. They get 2 goals within 36 seconds to tie the game with just over a minute to go in regulation. The Oilers have not let the puck leave the offensive zone for about 4 minutes. The pressure is insane. The Kings can't get the puck out of the way. Darcy Kuemper is doing everything he possibly can to keep the Kings in this game. Connor McDavid just a little bit too much with an assist, a nasty assist over there to Zach Hyman, and then a goal to tie up the game as he just goes to work down on the right side of the ice, able to stick handle around some guys, short corner right past Darcy Kuemper to tie the game at 5. With about 30 seconds to go in this game, it seems like we're heading to overtime when all of a sudden the Kings finally get their break. The Kings answer back, game-winning goal, with 35 seconds remaining in this game. They get a breakaway, 2-on-0, basically. A shot from the top, it's incredibly screened. You see airtime from Foegele all the way up there. He basically jumps over the goalie to screen him. He doesn't end up getting on it. Goal scored 6-5 with 30 seconds to go. That is the latest game-winning goal in the Kings' history. This is a Kings team that's very storied. Of course, the great one, Wayne Gretzky, played for both the Kings and the Oilers. It's kind of the Gretzky Bowl right now, but this is a game that meant a lot to the Kings. This was a really well-played game. This was one of the most shocking games I have seen. The Oilers erased a 4-goal deficit in this one, only to lose in heartbreaking fashion to the Kings at the last second. This series is going to be absolute cinema, and this is why the Stanley Cup playoffs are so great. There's no such thing as being out of it. Down 4 with 10 minutes to go, it doesn't matter. Down 2 with 3 minutes to go, it doesn't matter. Tie game after allowing a 4-goal comeback, it doesn't matter. Score a goal with 30 seconds left, why don't you? This was an incredible slate of hockey, and it's only Game 1 and Game 2 for these series. These series are going to be so much fun to watch. If you are not watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, what are you doing? I understand basketball's on, but you can watch both. Little secret for you, there's a way to do it. Highly recommend. These games have been amazing to watch. There's more games tonight, but that's not it. There's also NBA games tonight. The return of Damian Lillard. Halfway through that game, we're going to talk about what's going on in the NBA tonight. 4 games in the NBA, or 3 games in the NBA, 4 games on the ice. We'll preview all of those games coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going over the slate of action from last night, both in the NBA and in the NHL. 6 incredible matchups last night. We'll talk about the games going on right now and preview the ones going on tonight. Hopefully they are just as good as the ones yesterday. But before we get into the NBA slate tonight, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, April 22nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get into what's going on tonight around the association. The NBA playoffs continue as we are about halfway through. The third quarter just began in Indiana, as the Milwaukee Bucks, with the return of Damian Lillard from his blood clot in Game 2. At halftime, it was an 8-0. It was a 68-60 lead for the Pacers. They've continued their lead. They've opened it up to 73-60 early on in the third quarter now. But let's talk a little bit about Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, back after one half, has 11 points. Solid beginning. He's not necessarily going to be at 100%, but we can see the difference in this Bucks team when they have Giannis and another guy that can score. We also saw some production from the bench. Bobby Portis having 14 points in that first half. Very much important for this Bucks squad. We saw the Pacers jump out to an early 8-0 lead, something that they haven't given up all game. The Bucks have yet to hold the lead, but they're keeping this game a little bit closer than it was last time. This one doesn't quite feel like a blowout. It doesn't feel like it's over. We're seeing a Bucks squad that's going to stay in this game. They have a little bit more hope, even if Damian Lillard isn't necessarily going to be this huge bonus for this Bucks team. They're going to be able to play with a little bit more confidence. Giannis is going to know that he has another scoring threat behind him. They'll be able to do that high-low action that's worked so well in the past. And Kyle Kuzma's on the board, which it's not a lot, but it is help. The Pacers currently up 11 right now in this one. I assume the Pacers are going to hold on to this lead, but I do think this is going to become a very close game. I think the Pacers win this one probably by 3 or 4 at the end of the day, but keep an eye on this one. It is on NBA TV. It is the NBA TV series right now, but we'll keep an eye on it. Keep it updated throughout the rest of the show. Right now, again, Pacers up by 11. The other game on right now, also not really much better. We see the Grizzlies taking on the Thunder. A little bit before halftime, the Thunder are already up 20 points in this one. Kind of how we expected it to go, right? We see a dominant Thunder team that jumped out to an early lead once again, basically up 15 points at a minimum the entire game. This series is over, and I wish I could give you more insightfulness than that, but this is a Grizzlies team that simply just can't compete with this Thunder team right now. This is yet again a Thunder team that just isn't getting a dominant game from SGA, the MVP of this league. SGA in this game right now, 4 of 12 shooting, just 12 points. It is a little bit before halftime, so he'll probably breach that 20-point mark, something that he wasn't able to do last game. But it is something to keep an eye on. The way that they're using their guys, I feel like they're kind of resting them for an upcoming series against either the Clippers or the Nuggets. That's going to test them a lot more than this Grizzlies team is. This game is over. They might not blow them out by 51 points. But this Grizzlies team just does not stand a chance against the Thunder, and I expect both of these games, the Pacers and the Thunder, to move to a 2-0 lead. I think the Bucks at least have a chance to come back in this series, right? We talk about Giannis, and he is just so talented. He's just an incredibly talented player. You can never really count him out of a series, although it feels like this Bucks team just does not have the juice behind him to keep him in it, which kind of sucks because we'd love to see Giannis at least make the second round here at GSMC's Down by Contact Sports podcast. But the other game tonight, game 2 of the Timberwolves and the Lakers. These two teams going at it. We saw the Wolves shoot 50% from 3 in game 1. Outside of Luka, the entirety of the Lakers offense kind of struggled. We saw Luka put up 37 points in game 1. Dorian Finney-Smith only hit 1 3. We're talking about LeBron James that kind of had a bad shooting night. We're talking about Austin Reeves, who didn't have a good shooting night. They need to get out of that funk in this one. We saw the successful formula for them, right? Getting those offensive rebounds, aggressive on the glass, and more importantly, making your shots. Luka, 16 points in that first quarter is what worked. You want to continue to run that offense through Luka, but this is kind of a must-win game for the Lakers. You don't want to go to Minnesota down 2-0. Even if you are a supremely talented Lakers team with a big 3 consisting of Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James, you still need to be able to keep this close because the Wolves don't have that shabby of a team. This is a team that made it to the Western Conference Finals last season, losing to Luka and the Mavericks, but it's still led by Anthony Edwards, who developed one heck of a three-point shot this season, the leader in three-pointers made this season, shooting about 40% as well at that high of a clip is pretty impressive. You have Julius Randle, who looked pretty solid in game 1 of that series, and Rudy Gobert, right? It's not necessarily the greatest big 3, but they can shoot the ball. Right, Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo, you don't want to leave them open. They can shoot the ball. The Lakers, they need to figure things out right now. They need to figure out how to shut down the outside shot without giving up all the size that they're giving up right now on the inside. They just need to make their shots, I think is what it's going to be at the end of the day. I actually think the Timberwolves win this game as well. I think they open up a 2-0 lead, and I think this series kind of starts to feel over. The Lakers went not all the way in, and having a guy like Mark Williams could have helped in this series. I know they wanted him out of there because of whatever injury history that they found or potential injury risk that they found, but they need to find a center. They need to find one bad, and then they can kind of play more to Luka's strengths, more to LeBron's strengths, the way that those two can work together. I still think the Lakers have a chance, but it's not going to be easy against this really good Timberwolves squad. I'm taking the Timberwolves to win this game in game 2. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the games tonight? Who do you have winning the Bucks, Pacers, Grizzlies, Thunder, and Timberwolves, Lakers game? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to the ice. There are 4 games tonight in the NHL slate. We'll talk about all of them. Game 1, finally, the last series to tip off. A couple game 2s in action as well. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going over the games in the NBA tonight. 2 games currently in action, seemingly blowouts over there, and 1 game yet to occur, the Lakers versus Timberwolves, that tips off at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In this segment, we turn our attention back to the ice. 1 game about to wrap up, 1 game second period to begin, 2 games have not started yet. We'll talk about all of them in just a second, but before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those 2 things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, April 22nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the action on the ice tonight. A game that is just about over after an empty net goal by Seth Jarvis of the Carolina Hurricanes. See the Hurricanes extend their series lead to a 2-0 after a 3-1 win in Carolina. This game started off really strong for the Devils. The Devils, who are incredibly shorthanded right now, they don't have Luke Hughes. They don't have Brendan Dillon. Both got injured in last game. Luke Hughes, who was their 3rd highest minutes getter in the game 1 that they lost 4-1. That one was a very lopsided loss. This one was very close. The game-winning goal in this one scored in the second period by Jason Martinook on a shorthanded opportunity. A breakaway off of a face-off loss for the Devils. Puck poked around under a guy or two, finally finds its way out right over to the stick of Martinook, where he's able to find one right from his office on the left face-off dot. This is a huge win for the Hurricanes, right? The Devils put everything they had into this one. It was kind of a must-win for them. The New Jersey Devils needed it after the way they got embarrassed in Game 1 and the way that they're shorthanded now in Game 2. It's going to be real tough for them to come back. The series heading back to New Jersey now, this is feeling kind of like a sweep. I thought it would be a gentleman's sweep heading into it, a 4-1 kind of series. But with the way that the Devils' health are going, it just does not seem like they have the juice to keep up with a very talented Hurricane squad. Austin asks, who needs to step up more tonight, Austin Reeves or LeBron James? That's a very good question, Austin. Talking a little bit about that Timberwolves-Lakers series, this one, I think, needs to be a little bit more from Austin Reeves, right? LeBron James, we saw what he did in the first quarter. He didn't take that many shots. He actually only took one shot, didn't score at all in the first quarter of that game against the Timberwolves. If we're talking about who needs to step up more, we need Austin Reeves to be that kind of scoring threat. LeBron James is going to get his. Even in an off night, LeBron James still got 20 points, right? He still got what he needed to do, and he's still going to be able to be a closer. He still was pretty solid on defense. He had 4 blocks and 3 steals against this Timberwolves team, a Timberwolves team that beat them by nearly 30 points. All that being said, you need more from the shooters. You need not just from Austin Reeves, but you need from the bench shooters, Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith, guys like that, Jared Vanderbilt, the guys that they need to step up. I still think LeBron is going to be able to do his thing, but I need to see more out of Austin Reeves tonight for the Lakers to have a real shot against the Wolves in this one. The Senators and the Maple Leafs also already underway. We saw the Maple Leafs dominate in Game 1 of the Battle of Ontario. It wasn't really a battle. It was more of a massacre of Ontario in Game 1. 6-2 was the final score, and it's looking like it's going the same way. John Tavares has 2 points already in that first period of action, a goal and an assist on a Mark Riley goal. The Senators just seem a little bit outclassed right now. Linus Ullmark, who has some experience in the playoffs, just has not had his best series so far. And this is a very, very good Maple Leaf squad. Of course, they are over 100 points seemingly every single year. But this year they finally have some goaltending. Solar's having a really good season. They needed a strong start. The Ottawa Senators did. They did not get that, and it's starting to feel like the Senators just don't have the juice in this kind of rivalry game, this kind of rivalry series, to get anything going right now. I think the Maple Leafs run away with this one, and I'm taking them to, once again, pummel the Senators in Game 2. But the Battle of Florida kicks off in just about 5 minutes from now, start time 8:48 p.m. according to ESPN. The Panthers versus Lightning Game 1, the Battle of Florida. This is the last series in the playoffs, NBA or NHL, to kick off. We're seeing basically every team, every series go to Game 2 before the Lightning and the Panthers kick off, which is a little weird. But it doesn't matter. This is going to be a very, very physical series. We see the Panthers get Matthew Tkachuk back. They desperately need him. He is a huge part of not just their offensive game plan, but also their mentality, their defensive and their physicality side of the puck. They need that from Tkachuk. We've seen Big Bob step up in 2 straight playoff runs. They've been to 2 straight Stanley Cups, obviously winning last year. They needed one pretty badly. I don't see it going the same way. The Lightning are playing amazing hockey right now. Their special teams is insane. The Panthers need to avoid penalties. It's something that they've kind of struggled with this season, despite them being pretty good. This is a Lightning squad that still has Vasilevsky, who's not quite the greatest in the world right now. We're giving that crown over to Connor Hellebuck, but this is still a really, really good. Goaltending matchup here between Big Bob and Andrei Vasilevsky. These two teams battle for Florida. I'm taking the Lightning. I'm taking the Lightning to win this series, but I think the Panthers strike first in Game 1 to kind of send a little bit of a message. They get a little bit juice back because they're a little bit more healthy now, and I think they come out strong and they come out firing in this one. We'll have to keep an eye on that one, though. That one is about to begin. And the final game tonight, in the NHL, the Wild taking on the Golden Knights in Game 2. It was a very physical Game 1. We saw a lot of penalty minutes in that one. We saw a really tight game. Again, empty net. Final score was 4-2. It was really 3-2. It was one of the closer Game 1s that we saw over the weekend. This game is going to be a dogfight. This is a late starting game on the East Coast. It starts at 11 p.m., but this is a Wild team that finally has Kaprizov back. They have their goaltending. This is not going to be easy for the Golden Knights, and I think the Wild even up the series in this one. They just have too much talent with Ek and Kaprizov back in that lineup. Gustafsson, who had an incredible season. I think this is overall a Golden Knights series victory, but I can't see them falling behind 2-0 to this team. I think they just have too much pride, and I think they're just too good to fall that far behind that early. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the NHL games tonight? What do you think of the NBA games tonight? Who do you think are going to go up and eventually take them? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to college football. One of the big stories right now, Nico Emaliava. He was a part of what I'm calling a trade in college football between Tennessee and UCLA. We'll talk about that next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, if you are just tuning in. We just finished going over all of the action in the NBA and the NHL from last night, as well as previewing the action in both of those playoffs tonight. In this segment, we turn our attention to college football. One of the big stories right now, of course, surrounding the transfer portal as the spring window has officially opened. We're going to talk a little bit about a trade that took place in this one between the UCLA Bruins and the Tennessee Volunteers. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, April 22nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit here on what's going on with this trade in college football. Not something that is allowed to happen, but obviously the big situation that went down with Nico Emaliava and the Tennessee Volunteers has spilled over to UCLA after he officially decided to transfer to the Bruins, joining his brother who also transferred to the Bruins, forcing out former App State quarterback Joey Aguilar, who was promised the starting job over there. Obviously, things has changed, but things seemingly have changed for the brighter. The road isn't all the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but for Joey Aguilar, it seemingly is. He went from App State, a pretty solid group of five school, to a not that great Big Ten school in UCLA, all the way up to a team that made the playoffs last year in the Tennessee Volunteers. Aguilar isn't necessarily the greatest quarterback in the world, but he does have a very strong arm. He has an ability to find his receivers, especially when he has clean pocket, which he should be able to get at Tennessee. You get him in that Josh Heupel offense, he is going to be really fun to watch. I think that App State team was really good because of him. He kind of kept them alive, kept them in it a lot further than honestly, I think they should have. That offensive line wasn't necessarily the greatest. The weapons also not necessarily the greatest. But what Joey Aguilar was able to do in a couple years over at App State, pretty impressive. He's only got 1 year left. He's basically getting $1 million to play this year. It feels more like a revenge kind of thing for Nico than anything else for Tennessee. Although, again, Aguilar not necessarily the worst get in the portal. They were trying to get TCU portal quarterback. That one did not work out. So they get what probably is the next best option for them, a team that needed another option, a team that desperately is trying to get back to where they were last season. They're losing a lot of talent, but it's Tennessee. They'll be able to reload. They already have a lot of talent. This is an offense that was built, and you get Joey Aguilar, who's got a cannon of an arm, should be able to fit it in. Nico wasn't necessarily the greatest quarterback for them last year either. He was kind of inaccurate. He didn't have that kind of burst on the ball that you might expect a guy, former 5-star, to have. He's going to have a solid season over at UCLA, but he definitely is taking a big step down. The risk that he took trying to double his salary, he ended up having his salary. It did not work out for him. But Joey Aguilar, a massive winner. Moving to Tennessee from UCLA and App State, Nico goes to UCLA. He's gonna compete in the Big Ten, I guess. But this definitely is probably not the situation that he wanted to be in, or that his outlook expected him to be in at the beginning of the season, when they tried to strong-arm the Vols into getting $4 million, matching that Carson Beck salary. It's kind of an interesting situation, right? Because this could have been something that really set a standard in the NCAA. Instead, players are seeing this now and they're saying, okay, you know what? We don't have all the power here, although they do still have a lot of power here, which is fair. Restrictions are starting to come in on July 1st. This is the last time we're really going to see a cash grab like that, I believe. But we'll have to see how this changes, how this affects things. I think this is going to hurt Tennessee, help UCLA, and really, really help Joey Aguilar. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of this QB trade going on in the NCAA? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We'll be back tomorrow with our final mock draft. We'll also, on Thursday for the draft, be doing a live draft show starting at 7:30. So make sure you tune in for that. I'd love to see all of you there. We'll have a bunch of show hosts from around the GSMC network joining us. Can't wait to do that. But tomorrow, mock draft 6.0, the final mock draft, the only mock draft that's going to be 100% correct. My guarantee there for you. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the